Episode Snowmageddon 3 at London, England. Snowmageddon 3 in London Heathrow Airport in the United Kingdom. Most everyone encounters snow, even snow inns that trap them where they are snowbound. They cannot go anywhere until the snow melts, or just enough freeze and snow to make the roadways full of black ice without friction, making skid everywhere a high probable danger. And then there's everyone else on the road that may not be as good a driver as you are. They could hit, even kill you, or strike and kill a pedestrian who's walking in the frigid cold. And most people, those that have taken airplanes, have experienced flight delays, even outright cancellations. Some people, rarely, are forced to stay overnight until an alternate flight was available. Airlines sometimes comped, paid for, meals and hotel fees for the inconvenience, since it was often their responsibility or cause that the person could not take their flight, and why it was canceled. However, there are natural causes for flight cancellations, and they are rarely covered by the airlines or compensated for. Well, I have shared a tale of Snowmageddon in a previous episode in Canada, a very powerful event. I had another mini Snowmageddon later in Washington State while at Microsoft. But let me share now my biggest Snowmageddon tale. Let's get going on Snowmageddon 3.0. The big sequel. I thought that I had experienced the last Snowmageddon after returning to the States with my stint in Vancouver, Canada, and then the Washington State event at Microsoft. However, during one of my trips to the Xbox Fitness Developer in Sheffield, England, it snowed. And it kept snowing. And it seemed like the snow would never stop. Although my team and I did manage to get all the way to the London Heathrow International Airport in hopes to return to the United States. We had booked rooms in the Sofitel Hotel, which is attached to the airport. We were there, but it kept on snowing. It was becoming clear. We were in Snowmageddon 3, the big sequel. All of the airlines shut down. They canceled every single flight. No aircraft could leave the tarmac. Trains and taxis stopped running. We called everywhere. We even tried to see if we could take a train under the channel to France and maybe fly from there. But it too was shut down. There was no way out of England. We were trapped. There were so many people stranded in the airport that the parking lot parkade for cars was converted into a makeshift shelter with space heaters and blankets. It was insane. They brought in the British military to provide assistance and attempt to shovel off the tarmac and runways. But it was to no avail. It was all insane. You just don't expect makeshift hovels in parking structures with people worried about food and warmth and blankets in what is an alleged first world affluent country. Mother Nature and God can shut down anything, anyone, any country, anywhere. And while the throngs of people were cold and hungry and stranded, we had our individual Sofitel hotel rooms with room service. It was such an insane division and separation, entirely based on timing and reservations. And then there was no Sofitel hotel room or food for us either anymore. Our reservations had expired, and the snow kept falling, and the long wait-listed people were clamoring to take our occupancy. We had lost our haven, and we were banished into the cold with the throngs that we previously pitied. With luggage in tow and nowhere to go, the team and I wandered the airport looking for some place that we too could make camp, like all of the other homeless travelers. But I had an idea. I declared that if the team watched my luggage, I would venture out into the snowy storm, and I would see if there were options beyond what we knew from the airport view and venue. I did so. Weathering the cold and storm, I did succeed. Yes, I discovered that there were taxis that would take people along plowed clear freeways, only on the freeways. Well, they refused to enter or support the airport or anyone within the airport. Apparently, the British government had declared it was unsafe for taxis to engage with or service the airport or anyone within it, and so it was illegal to help people in need. I struggle to believe it was the intended outcome, to trap people by taking away their only means of escape, but that is exactly what happened. Well, the taxi driver was not going to break the rules, much less the law, but he agreed that he could transport us from the highway on-ramp to a nearby city where there were hotel vacancies, he assured us. A city that he called Slough. Or is it Slow? Well, it's spelled Slough. Let's continue. I explained it might be difficult for my team and I to carry our luggage all the way to a freeway or highway on-ramp. And so I offered him 100 British pounds, I'd estimate about $150 US, to drive down to the closest adjacent airport street where he would pick us up. The taxi driver smiled and agreed. It might have skirted the intended rules and laws, but there was 150 pounds for him. He pocketed the extreme tip, and he and I drove down to the airport nearby a street. I trusted him to wait, and he did, as I retrieved the team and our luggage. We were off to Slough. There is little to describe of Slough. The hotel was evidently once an upscale and posh. However, it had devolved over ages into a decrepit, broken down hotel. Decrepitude had taken over. Curiously, we learned that the hotel operated as a business center for local criminals and their goings-on. It appeared to be infested with mobsters and criminals. How do we know this? Well, other than seeing a multitude of unsavory appearing characters, a server at the restaurant informed us at a dinner that it was best to focus on our table and meal and stop looking at other people in the hotel or restaurant or bar. We tended to look at everybody because we were foreigners. He indicated that someone had complained that we were spying on them, and it is not good to be noticed for spying on people. He made it clear we had better mind our own business, or else. And so we did. In conclusion, other than the mobster criminal element of Slough, it was fine. Just an old, beaten-down hotel. It kept us out of Snowmageddon 3, and we were thankful to be in Slough, even if it was with the Syndicate. One other point of drama during Snowmageddon 3, some of us would get a call that a flight was available, and they had to get there within 2 hours to board. Well, I was not one of those people with a golden ticket. I was to wait in the hotel. The lucky individuals that had golden tickets gleefully endured the nightmare of getting to the airport, and they checked in and they boarded. Hooray! However, they were happy to sit on the tarmac for 6 hours while awaiting their escape from Snowmageddon 3. But then it happened. The plane had sat so long, it froze over, so much so that it could no longer be defrosted for flight. It was grounded, and everybody on board had their flight canceled again. They returned to the hotel using the same taxi street-side bribe method. Defeated they were. A similar failure to launch happened again and again for several other people. Snowmageddon was a cruel mistress. It offered hope, only to dash it and take it away. After a week of being trapped right through Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, the snow finally stopped, and the British Army cleared the runways, and we all escaped Snowmageddon 3's clutches. Finally, team members with families and children were sad to miss Christmas Day at home. But it was another price that we had to pay to make sure Xbox Fitness would ship on time and be of high quality and be right for the customer. I recall during one trip, a teammate was intoxicated and she began regaling the tales of Microsoft of old and of how it had grown up so. She drifted from topic to topic, meandering from idea to idea. One thing that she said, though, struck deeply with me. She said that most Microsoft vice presidents and above cheat on their spouses. There it was. She explained that their spouses know they have a good deal going, benefiting from the vice presidents and higher, high income, their bonuses, and their retirement packages, extravagant vacations. All they had to do was stay married to their Microsoft executive. It was disgusting. She basically told me that many spouses were no better than prostitutes. But she furthered, they rarely have sex with their husbands because their husbands have mistresses. The wives are more like homemakers, child caretakers, and life detail managers. In fact, they're really not even child caretakers. They're more like hired nannies. They don't really have a relationship with their husbands anymore. They rarely clean the house, as they have hired housekeepers and servants for that. It was apparently a function of valuing money over principles, or at least that's what I concluded. Now, I must too confess, I had become a heavy alcohol drinker over my years, particularly my later years in game development. I had known many colleagues who did the same. It surprised me at Microsoft. I was told explicitly that drinking 1 to even 2 bottles of wine every single day was normal. Drinking was how people worked long hours, stressful hours, weeks on end without a day off. It was how people endured. It was how they survived. In retrospect, I should have realized that we were all self-medicating in some way or another by drinking so much alcohol. I wonder sometimes if my drinking alcohol masked otherwise potential bipolar or neurodegenerative episodes as they were evolving. If so, it might suggest that I always had some level of mental divergence, being just a different brain than the typical person, and I perhaps controlled it by drinking my divergence away so that I would resume the next day in control. In any case, apparently, a bottle or 2 a day keeps the stress at bay. A bottle or 2 a day keeps the stress at bay.